Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this.
Hi Jason, how are you today?
Very well, and how are you?
I'm good too, thank you.
Well, today guys, welcome to Uncovered. We're going to be focusing on the feeling of calm. Now, this feeling is basically a way in which you know deep within that you can actually deal with any thunderstorm that's going to come your way. Now, one thing, I'm going to give you an example where it's really, really tough for people. PTSD. Now, who do you think are the most likelihood of getting PTSD as an occupation?
Or like police officers, people that work at the ambulance or in a hospital, or
fireys.
Yeah, firefighters. Yeah.
So these guys, they're taught to be calm under an absolute thunderstorm. So it's a real challenge to know, are you really being calm or are you building up stress? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of people who you might think are the calmest cats in the world, they might be putting on a really, really big act. So it means that they can get through life and then all of a sudden the bubble bursts and then they're an absolute nightmare and a wreck. And the number of times that I've had people who have been that person that's relied upon. So we're looking at CEOs as well. We're looking at people like myself, and you've seen me melt down, having to be that person that everyone is relied upon for support, help and care.
Absolutely.
And so you've got to be mindful, guys. If you're that calm cat, that calm character, are you building up a huge layer of stress? Because it can't be that way all the time. I know from my own experiences that people look at me as a really calm person, calm character, don't they, Philia?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you've seen me melt down in complete tears and all of those sorts of things. What do you notice straight afterwards after I've done my meltdown?
You go calm again. Yeah.
I do very, very quickly, and it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know you've had to get used to my behaviour, expecting me to be a nightmare mess maybe for a few days or everything difficult.
That's just my own experience.
Yeah, because that's what we naturally do. When you have a meltdown, all we think about is that meltdown's going to last a good period of time, right? Calmness actually allows the seed of tranquility to come into the meltdown and actually calm the sea very, very quickly. And it's really important that we learn to get the help. We can't always be calm. That feeling of calmness is there all the time for us to reach. It's whether we're willing to go into the sea of calmness. And the number of times that I've had this happen with so many people, you imagine if the water is completely calm, what do you think you're going to feel?
Calm?
Bored. Right? There's nothing to do. You know when we love a wave?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, I want to catch a wave and we go to the beach and we're like, oh, geez, I really want to body surf, catch a wave, and then, sea's too calm today. And it's the same with our nature. Calmness can't be there to make us stop life. So if there's full calmness, the world doesn't exist on calmness. Right now, there are I've just cracked my hands together, thousands and thousands of cells have just died. Right now we're having cells die, we're having cells live, we've got cancer developing in our bodies. There is no such thing as a sea of calmness in our body. Our body is running 100 miles an hour while we don't even know what it's doing half the time. Our brain is firing mechanisms, our heart is beating. So there's no such thing as a calm body, full stop. So how do we do calmness? It's more like an emotional, mental thing as opposed to a stillness thing within the body of life. Because there's no such thing as stillness. This morning I was looking at the carpet, and I'm doing that right now, and all I see is the carpet dancing because I can see energy. There's nothing still. So how do we handle being calm in an environment that's never still? The walls are not still. We just see them as still if we can't see energy. But I can see the walls warp, twist and move. So I know from having my psych ward moment in 2000 that got a little bit too much. I was seeing and sensing way too many things, and I ended up going a little bit crazy. So the important thing around calmness is knowing that we need ripples to move us, but it's what we do within the thunderstorms of life that really matters. So if we are right in the middle of the tornado is stillness, tornadoes are going to be around us and we are going to have problems. All of us will.
Oh yeah, you can't avoid that.
You can't avoid them. It's what you do to be pre-prepared. So do you go out into the bush without a first aid kit and you're going for 3 weeks with no first aid kit?
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. People who do end up in a lot of trouble, don't they? So what we've got to think about when we're thinking about calmness is preempting and pre-preparing situations, and knowing that if we are more able to handle situations because we're pre-prepared in our psychology and our emotions. So what I mean by that is spending time with emotions that are hard and be calm within them. And if you can be calm within the sea of horror stories that are our emotions or our thought loops that run around, then we can actually be guided by them, which is what all of these emotional podcast audios are all about. They're about learning to be calm in the sea of emotions that we call hurricanes, tsunamis. So calmness is not easy, guys. You're never going to be able to get it all the time. And I'm going to give you a really, really important tip here. Calmness is great. It exists in meditation. But if you rely on meditation to keep you calm, and then you're a hurricane everywhere else and you have to go back to nature, you have to go and do something that's going to stabilize you, that's a problem. So you don't go to your exercise. I'm not saying all of those things are not good. You need to not run reliance over them. Because when they get taken away, then you need to see where you're really going to be at. So let's say you're a fitness freak like you are, you love exercise, right? And you break your legs and your arms. You have an accident and then you can't exercise anymore, and that was your sea of calmness that you relied on. Where would you be without it? And the number of people that would come and see me with chronic fatigue, athletes, and then they were depressed because they used their thing as their way to keep calm.
And what would be a more less reliant and sustainable way to practice calmness in your life?
Well, a couple of things, Philia, come to mind. One is diversity. So meditation, exercise, eating good food, do a lot of different things that are going to supply calmness to you. So you've got go-tos, right? We need a lot of go-tos. I think that's really, really important. Vulnerability is the ultimate source of calmness. Sharing what is truly going on inside of you with somebody. Because if you can't do that, you build up pressure, right? And we all do. All of your concealed stuff that you think about in your head, guys, that you do not tell people, is going to create a thunderstorm inside. And all of a sudden, you know, when you've talked to me and I've talked to you and we've just gone, oh, that feels better.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to be vulnerable with people. We need to be honest. We need to actually show what's going on within our psyche. and not be afraid of being judged by it.
Well, I guess it depends on who you talk to as well. You know,
Yes.
you wouldn't just talk to some person on the street, but like someone that you trust as well about
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah. So who are the worst people that you would choose? People you get triggered by. So if you were, if let's say you're triggered by your mum, I'm not saying you are, but imagine if you're triggered by your mum and you're looking for her for calmness and support, and you'd be vulnerable with stuff that you have not told anyone, and you know your mum's a trigger, don't go there. It's going to be a nightmare. So you've got to look and say, okay, who are the right people that I can come towards and see, right? And then the bigger pressure cooker test is your triggers, right? So you can't run away from your triggers. So let's say you and I have great partners, right? We're I'm happily married. You're about to be married to an amazing man who I love, and I treat him like a son, Cody. He's awesome. So imagine you spending time with that energy, and then you keep focusing on those situations, and you just hang out with something that's calm. You don't get triggered. Nothing's there. Everything's perfect because you're hanging out with your perfect person. You go and spend time with people that actually trigger you on purpose. You go to situations that are going to trigger you on purpose to see if you're calm within the hurricane, because they're going to come and find you anyway. Does that make sense?
So you may as well go searching for them yourself. At least you're prepared.
Yeah, that's what I mean by pre-prepared. You bring your first aid kit, you do the work on yourself, and then you go into the triggered test. Right? I can meditate in a casino. I don't need quiet to meditate. I don't need a tranquil place to meditate. Right? So what I do is I go, I'm going to find calmness wherever I am. So I look towards the triggers and go towards my triggers to see if I can be calm. And if I can't be calm in the triggers, then that's where my work is. So that's where you have to go. If you want a full tranquility, go work on yourself and then get tested up. Right? It's like, let's say you have issues with men and you just do women's groups.
Yeah, well, their issues not going to go away.
It's not going to go away. You go and hang out with men, and then you get triggered, and then you go and hang out with the women's group. Same with men. Right? So you've got to think, well, how can I get triggered safely? I'm not telling you guys to go to a deep, dark alley where there are people who could murder you, right? Or you're frightened of rape, so you go and spend time with a rapist. I'm not talking about extreme situations, guys. And I'm not asking you to bungee jump or jump out of a plane. I have done that. You have done that. I was scared out of heights, so I decided to jump out of a plane to see if I could get transform that. It worked. But I'm not suggesting other people to do that. What I'm asking you to do is test yourself against the waters of life and see if you can be calm within them, because Cody makes you feel calm more often than not, right?
Yeah.
He's not your test.
Sometimes he triggers me, but mostly calm,
Yeah. You have an awesome relationship, right? But there'll be particular things that will trigger you. You've got to go and find them and spend time with them, and don't isolate yourself from them, because the isolation chamber is the worst thing that you can do. Go and spend time. If you've got issues with money, you've got issues with exposure to the world, which I do, which is what I do, which was the reason why I'm doing this podcast, by the way, to help me get over my fear of exposure. So see if I can be calm in an environment that I'm not comfortable in. Make sense? So I'm doing every single thing humanly possible to expose what I know, what I see. It's all different, and I'm learning to be calm in that situation. There are times when I'm not, when I'm scared. I know I have to go there. I have to go towards the things that feel insurmountable to us.
And what about those pressure cooker things that you were talking about in the beginning, especially in connection with PTSD? So people that might be kind of like in the military or police people, or all these kind of professions. What would you kind of recommend for them when they feel like the pressure is building up on the inside?
Yeah, look, one of the things that I am really strong advocate for is making sure that you get help with those sorts of things, PTSD is something that needs professional help. We help it. If someone comes to see us with PTSD in the academy, we unwind it in, like, people who have come with that, they're calm as a button in about 3 seconds with one breathing technique. But that's not something that I want to share with you guys right now in this podcast, because it takes some understanding and deep work to actually get there, and that's what we do in the academy. So I believe you need to go and see the general resources that are available right now, and some of them aren't that great. You know, some of them don't help. That's why quite often I've been that person. It's not working. They'll come and get some help with me, you know, because a lot of, you know, if you can't cope, you're going to have to take the pharmaceutical drugs to get yourself feeling calm. It's not something that's bad. You've got to learn how to. I don't necessarily advocate for them. At the same time, I know they're essential, right? So not everyone can get over the hump and sort themselves out, and so you've got to get the right type of help. So, you know, we've got psychology, we've got psychiatrists, we've got kinesiologists, we've got chiropractors, we've got healers, we've got all of these sorts of things. And, you know, ours is different. We've got mentorship. So ours actually, out of all of those things that I've said, ours is a personal responsibility model. So that means that we're not reliant on the PTSD being fixed by us. So we require people who can be more responsible in what they do. So we give them all the nurture and support, show them the techniques, so then they don't have to have those completely detrimental things like PTSD, ADHD and all of those things. They're basically high anxiety levels. So we teach how to get the most of that anxiety. So PTSD, anxiety, have a look at that. Overwhelm, we've done a couple of podcast series on those already. So if you want to know about that sort of thing, have a look. But, you know, I think it's important to follow what's going to work. I know meditation works. There's lots of things that really work. You've got to find what's going to work for you. Okay? I don't think there's a one fits all for this. We're not the right fit for everybody.
Yeah. That's true. And somebody might find it more beneficial to, you know, once they start feeling that pressure coming up and that stuff cooking underneath the surface, to just go and see like a counsellor or something like that, and just have a bit 100%. Of, you know, a bit of a chat about what's going on. And
so you got to find your own thing. This is where I think it's a little bit wise of me to just not advocate for what we do. You've got to find that way. You know, one thing I know that's really, really important, it's the type of person. So one thing I've heard from a lot of people, Ophelia, I'm just going to let our dog in. 1 second. People have said about me, there's something in my voice. Hey Rocky, come up here. And there's something in my voice that makes people feel calm. So I know there's something about me. I was like that in high school. I had people coming up having meltdowns and telling me stuff about their life, and I was just like, why are you telling me? I'm in year 10 and I've got just as much shit going on as you do. Like, I don't need to know what's going on for you. But, you know, that's what we need. We need that right tone, that we need that right person that is going to be able to understand us. And I think with the stuff that goes on, I've helped people with PTSD and lots and lots of times. Right? We've got to find that person that we can know and trust, and we've got to be prepared to take ourselves into the ability that we can actually make that change with the support of the other person. Because if we rely on the other person, we're going to end up with PTSD and those sorts of labels for the rest of our life. So we need to learn to, you know, get the support while taking that responsibility ourselves and knowing that there's another way that we can get calm again.
Beautiful. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about the calmness that we talked about?
Yeah, look, I think it's an ongoing process. I think we've got to know that it's not something that we can just have overnight and it just stays with us. So when you're calm, expect a thunderstorm. Right? So my advice to you is work on the emotions. If you're listening to the podcasts of the emotional stuff that we're doing, work on the tough emotions when you're calm. That's what I mean by giving yourself the first aid psychological kit. right? So if we can work on those hard emotions while we're in calmness, then when they do arrive, we're going to be okay when they do. And that's what really matters, pre-prepared. It's like pre-baked cookies. We need to actually have them pre-baked. And if we're pre-baked, when something comes along, then we can handle life a lot more easily. So be prepared. Don't think that you don't go into the jungle with nothing naked, do you?
No.
Right? So it's the same with life, and I think we've lost this. We don't have any prep. So you need, in my opinion, get some personal development under the hood. Get the right people to give you that personal development, because there's a lot of people who take you on a divergent journey, which doesn't take you closer to where you're going. So be mindful of who you get help from. I've been on a few divergent journeys. I've been in the personal development place since 1998. Ended up in the psych ward with one. So a couple of hairy moments with people. So pick your people wisely, and make sure that you work on this as a journey, not a destination too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this chat. That was really helpful.
Thank you, Philia. You always make me feel calm.
Thank you. Likewise.
You're the boss of calmness in my world. All right.
All right.
Thanks so much, guys. And if you like this podcast, or you think someone needs to hear this, our podcast, if you want to see us, is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. I'd love you to like and share this. If you do want some help from us in the Academy, and this has really sparked your interest, we have a evolution page, Wellness Breakthrough Evolution, on Facebook. You can find us on our website, which is wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com, and you can always book in a call to have a chat to one of our team members. All right, have an awesome day, guys, and thanks, Philia.
See you next time.